My name is Seleshi Bekele. I work for United Nations Economic Commission for Africa at African Climate Policy Center. I'm Senior Water and Climate Change Specialist. The African Climate Policy Center is one of the pillar program of the Climate for Development in Africa program. And the other two are housed at African Development Bank, which is called the Climate and Development Special Fund. And the third one is housed at African Union Commission, which is the political leader of the program, as well as implementing the program called Climate Change and Desertification Unit. ACPC, or African Climate Policy Center, is also a secretariat of the ClimDev Africa program. So the ClimDev Africa program is a program established by three leading African institutions: the African Union Commission, the African Development Bank, and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. So as such, it has got three major components. First one is political leadership, and component known as Climate Change and Desertification Unit in Africa, that is led by African Union Commission. Second one is analytical arm, which is African Climate Policy Center, which is hosted at ECA, Economic Commission for Africa. And the third one is the ClimDev Special Fund, which is hosted at African Development Bank. So African Climate Policy Center also provides the secretariat function of the whole program. This particular program is hosted by the three institutions in a collaborative manner, and in fact the mandate comes from African Ministerial Council on Environment and African Heads of States. That is given direction in order to establish this particular program. First of all, the ClimDev Africa program itself has got, in addition to these three pillars, programmatic aims and major objectives. The aim is to establish a solid foundation in climate data science information system in Africa. So the first result area of the ClimDev Africa program collectively for the three institutions is to improve data science information system in Africa. And the second objective why it is established is to undertake analytical work to inform decision making and policy formulation in Africa with regard to climate and climate change. And the third major function of ClimDev Africa is to improve awareness, advocacy, and consensus building across Africa in matters related to climate and climate change. So as such, then this is a crucial undertaking that has got strong relevance to meteorological and hydrological information system. Also the improving the data management system, rescuing existing information system, packaging it in such a way that it is accessible and usable by users, and also through the analytical work link it to the issues of early warning system, disaster risk reduction and management, and also linking it to sectoral uses like for example in water development, energy development, agriculture, and so on. So overall it provides that opportunity of looking at the climate issues through analytical work in order to adapt as well as contribute to mitigation activities in Africa. Through the third result area, the ClimDev Africa program brings that platform for dialogue, building consensus among African institutions such as continental-wide institutions, regional economic communities, like River Basin Organization, member states, and so on and so forth, so that Africa speaks with one voice in issues of climate and climate change related matters. So the linkage to the AMCOMET is such obvious in terms of the content of ClimDev Africa that it could be one of the technical arm of the AMCOMET, providing the relevant backstopping in terms of improving data network and infrastructure system, undertaking analytical work that will help to unpack policy issues and strategic issues. The other dimension of relevance, obviously AMCOMET is also established like other ministerial councils through the endorsement of African heads of states and the African Union Commission, in this case with the strong support of World Meteorological Organization. It will be strongly linked to the ClimDev Africa program, because ClimDev Africa program is owned also by African Union Commission, which is one of the establishing body of the AMCOMET. In such a way that all the political process, policy issues, strategic issues, collective decision issues could be actually facilitated through the AMCOMET that will ultimately pass through the African Union Commission mechanisms to, let's say, the African heads of state and similar decision bodies. So it has got that kind of strong linkage both at technical level as well as political policy and the strategic level. The potential is that I think ClimDev Africa program is there to serve such ministerial body like the AMCOMET in terms of backstopping through technical issues and also get guidance from the AMCOMET on issues where to focus, for example, in the ClimDev Africa program. Indeed, as I've said, in the establishment, it was mandated by AMCEN and similar bodies and consensus building of the three institutions. But the establishment of the AMCOMET is so crucial because where result area one and the analytical work of the ClimDev is focusing is in strong alignment with AMCOMET mandate areas and what AMCOMET is intending to do. So what we undertake under ClimDev Africa, be it the analytical work leading to policy areas, policy suggestions or recommendations, will have then very strong linkage to the AMCOMET functional activities in order to, for example, create this policy harmonization around data management, data sharing, data network expansion, and also new and innovative ideas that will emerge in future. Why not? We think, for example, in Africa to have satellite-based information dedicated to Africa. So this kind of leadership should come from the African leadership, like the heads of state as well as the ministerial council. So when this kind of guidance are provided, then the African Climate Policy Center, ClimDev Africa program, or other similar type of programs working in Africa will have that opportunity of taking it up and concretizing and transforming it to strategic and investment areas. This is, I think, a very good opportunity to work together with AMCOMET Secretariat and ClimDev Africa Secretariat. I think we can establish very strong bondage actually in supporting our ministers in synthesizing knowledge and information systems that will be strategic and informative to support Africa's forward-looking development. The case in point, for example, the African Climate Conference 2013 was formulated with the World Climate Research Program and African Climate Policy Center. The World Climate Research Program is established by WMO as research arm. The ACPC is the Clean Dev Africa program. We came up with a very good recommendations that will be very instrumental in terms of advancing climate science in Africa and investment and capacity building and undertaking research for development activities. Also, Clean Dev Africa has already established a good dialogue platform known as Climate Change and Development in Africa conference that is coming every year. So in that, I think number of research results undertaken by the Clean Dev Africa program itself, number of investment activities undertaken by Clean Dev Africa program and other programs like the emerging global framework on climate services or major programs that are investing in Africa are converging in this kind of platform in order to actually synthesize lessons learned, bring out policy issues that perhaps hinder the progress in Africa in terms of climate issues. So this will definitely help in building up that relevant capacity at various levels of decision. So I think the AMCOMET Secretariat and Clean Dev Africa program should closely work with each other, for example, in transforming a strategy to implementation actions and also leadership in a number of areas.